I had you when you was weak. You caught me on my knees. Don't pressure be forcing kids, and I won't pressure you for marriage. Things never at the right time, but we gotta do things on our time. Sometimes I still doubt myself, but at least now I love myself. And I am quite emotional, that's why you can't get close at all. So I start to push away the ones that love me, cause I'm scared that they might walk away. I'm not perfect, so I try every day and I grow a little bit. Read a little more so I can educate my ears. From my soul and cleanse my spirit. Ready cause I'm ready for the truth of the sea. Since serenity is all that I need. Oh no. Okay, that was my beautiful intro. Welcome, beautiful beings. Welcome, welcome. I was supposed to do this on Saturday, but it's all good because we're here right now. Holding beautiful space with my spliff of beautiful utmost vibrations of love and growth. And what else do I want to focus on? I want to focus on how still I feel in regards to the ocean. I when people ask me how I am, I check in and it comes out as a metaphor in comparison to the comparison to the ocean, to water. And now, right now, in my experience, I feel very, I feel so vast as the ocean and calm. And my tendency, well, rephrase, I was going to say something, but wherever you focus, it grows. So I love being present with taking my time, one step at a time, because my heart is so open. I want to really enjoy me taking it one moment at a time. So I'm really just, loving the fuck out of my life, pretty much. So what we have going on here, first is we have the intro of the music by Cleo Soul. So that was Why Don't You? So if you're thinking about the song, that was the song. On my left here, we have Instagram. Nope, we have Facebook. This is my Facebook page. What up, people? Thank you so much for joining me. Over here, we have Instagram, New News Vibes. Yeah, just shout out to my tribe. I really appreciate you connecting and seeing and witnessing and up leveling from my growth. So it means a lot to me. And then we have Poopy Head, Cutie Patoots. Y'all can't see. Okay, there you go. Lisa's like, why are you showing me? I don't want to be seen. So today I want to talk about it's not necessarily only going to be strictly about the Akashic. I'm gonna moving forward every week when we have these lives, they're going to be about uplifting, and essentially just sharing what it means to be in a session with me, have consistency in my programs, and give y'all free content so y'all can learn these tools and be in a space of upgrading.
that's what this is about. So I meditated before I came on here just to see what is it that the collective consciousness wanted to touch upon, wanted to build upon. Peace Queen wanted to build upon, and what came out for me and my heart and for the collective, which is y'all, is gentleness. And so that's going to be the theme of today, is gentleness. And we're going to go through a whole different ranges of where we can be that. So I'm going to encourage you to grab your notes on your phone, or maybe even your journal, and just feel where there's questions that you'd like to connect with, that you'd like to transcribe my sentences into a question for yourself, because chances are you're resonating and you've probably come on here in that moment that you actually needed this. So we're going to go in. Okay. So I want you to take a moment to just see how you feel for a second. You're here, you're present. What is it that's coming up? Just being present with your breath, and like just taking that trip with your breath. As you inhale, let your soul allow you to take you on a journey. And before you exhale, feel the stillness of the waters that exist within. And then as you exhale, notice blessings, and notice how your breath continues to show you the permanence and impermanence of you, of yourself. And if you want to keep taking those breaths, maybe for 2 or 3 breaths, and really dive into your own space before even communing into this space, into this co-creative communion. So taking a few breaths as you're holding your phone, peace, and or in your computer, whatever you're on, and finding that balance of tech connection versus technology, connection with self. That's a beautiful piece of technology. And then connection as the collective, the beings that are on here watching this and feeling the vibration from not just me, but you, and the connected web that we are, like Cerebro, right? So we are that Cerebro, and so all the beings that are here are also part of that frequency in this moment. So honoring that their presence as well. Okay, so gentleness. First journal prompt is going to be take 2 minutes. You don't have to do this right now, but feel free to write this down and take this information and carry it over. So take 2 minutes and just journal straight on gentleness. Just write whatever the F comes up. If you're doing it right now, you can kind of jot note it, because we will move a little faster through the prompts, and let it filter through. Let your mind take you through your body. Let your brain go through your body and connect with the muscle memory that we all have. I love teaching this in my classes, in my movement classes, because I'm such a big proponent of knowing that our physical anatomy is little puzzle pieces of our existence. And so whenever we move our body as an accordion and massage it in that way, and self-massage in that way, things are getting activated. And sometimes there's triggers, and sometimes there's happiness, and all these different emotions that our nervous system is so intricately connected to our rib cage and our epidermis, that all of these pieces are always connecting in a cellular way. And it's so magical. It is so magical. So just, if you want to even close your eyes, this is going to be the next. So we're going to be just taking a moment to close your eyes and feeling the sensation of gentleness. It's a beautiful prompt. More life. So, feeling your breath. Now, if your eyes are closed, have them open, and know that once you've done that experience, your muscle memory now and your consciousness now has an imprint of it. And that's like that with every experience in our life. So you can always come back to feeling these experiences, to come back to feeling the void that you are, come back to feeling the vastness and the gentleness that you are. So why gentleness? Okay, the reason why I want to do gentleness is because a little bit of a past experience here is that I grew up a tomboy, like strictly like fat farms, a baggy t-shirt, and some capris. And I was just like, take my bike. I got scrapes, bare scrapes, like all that stuff. And I didn't know, like for a really long time, yeah, I'm a woman, and I didn't know how to feel gentleness. And it's interesting, a lot of people, we connect, nurturing and gentleness innately within us, within women in particular. And so in my soul, I was just really uncomfortable with what it means to feel gentle. So that I've been really exploring this thought. I've been exploring the word. I've been exploring the experience, which is all of the things that I'm sharing with you right now. And I want us to just see how it plays for you in your life. Maybe you do have enough gentleness already and this doesn't resonate. But if it didn't resonate, you wouldn't even be on this frequency. So if it does, I would encourage you to see what part of it is speaking to you, what part of it is igniting your soul within. And yes, so that's the first two prompts. Now I want to talk about in different topics. So gentleness, one of the things that I wanted to feel was being gentle with our thoughts. So discussing that. What does that even mean in regards to being gentle with our thoughts? So if you want to write it out, and this is also going to be on YouTube shortly, so if you want to even comment on this, by all means, let me know what you mean by gentleness. But for the beings that are on here, you're not obligated to. But if you want to write what your thoughts are on being gentle to yourself, what does that look like? What does that look like? Feel free to comment. And if not, we'll just continue. And I wrote, being gentle to me meant knowing that it's okay, knowing that however I am and choose to be right now, I'm okay and I'm good enough. So that was my way of being gentle to myself. It was knowing that I'm always in the presence of power. I'm always in the presence of power. I'm always in the presence of power. And that's how I balanced my ability. Most welcome. Thank you for receiving the message and tuning in. How are you finding your power by being gentle? Yes. So when I started being gentle with my thoughts, right, it allowed me to not hate myself so much, not have any dialogue, or rather being more sensitive to dialogue that was being the opposite, because I was focusing on I'm being more gentle with myself, because I was putting the light on gentleness. Anything that didn't feel gentle was like, whoa, what is that, and why is that here, and this was my normal thought. This is interesting that this was my normal thought. So this prompt is going to allow you to be more vigilant on where you're being really abrasive with yourself. Really, when I mean abrasive, I mean hurtfully bringing your vibration down, actively stagnating yourself. That's why I mean by aggressive and abrasive, because sometimes, people say, it's nice to rough yourself up. I believe that in like when I work out, right? Like I come from a martial arts background, and there's a gentleness as much as there is me sparring and having this roughness to me. And so we'll talk more about that. Should we talk about it right now since we're on the topic? Okay. Let's do it right now since we're on the topic. Otherwise we're going to go back and jump back and forth, and we don't want that. I want this to be like this continuous flow. And so I think like there's a beauty to roughness, but now what that's going to encourage you to define what you mean by that, right? Define what you mean by that. We had a beautiful conversation at our Bridging the Gap series. Shout out to Organja, this beautiful cannabis in Afro-Indigenous cannabis, well, Aboriginal community, just focusing on Indo-Afro-Indigenous communities all around the world. So, with that being said, we talked about roughness, and it was so interesting because that was on my consciousness. And the way that we are brought up, sometimes it can be in a rougher experience, right? And I think it keeps you in a certain balance. But where's your limit? What is your experience of roughness? Does that mean being hit? Does that mean having rough sex? Does that mean like how you take care of your body? Does that mean, when you have a wound from fighting, let's just say, particularly like I'm thinking like martial arts. If I have a scrape, I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Like, let's keep going. For me, that's a balance of roughness, right? So like rough versus gentle, where does that balance out for you? Next, what we're going to be talking about is gentleness in your touch to yourself. So it does have a little bit of a sensual, feminine, sometimes experience, but that's the balance in all of us that we experience. We both have masculine and divine, right? So because I'm touching myself with more gentleness, does that mean I'm less of a woman? I mean, more of a woman if you're in a male gender right now. So just taking that time to know that this sensitivity, this experience of love and hug, and you giving that to yourself is gentleness, and it holds space for you feeling nurtured. You diving into your divine masculine and feminine and feeling the balance of both, right? That nurturing, mothering touch. Exactly. Yes, Gina. Thank you for sharing that. So the nurturing female energy. Exactly. And so with that, this is going to be my next prompt for you is today, when you put lotion on your body, I want you to take a moment and actually the whole time that you're putting lotion on your body, I want you to have more gentleness in that experience. I want you to see what it feels like to be gentle and also put your lotion on. Life-changing fingertip touch. Oh, I love that. Fingertip touch. Beautiful. I personally haven't worded it in that experience before, but I can see totally what you mean, the sensuality, because we have such beautiful nerve endings in our palms, especially in our fingertips. And so when you connect with your heart space through your hands, it can be very vulnerable and it can be very powerful, and it can hold a lot of truth in where there's wounds, where there's tremors, where there's more work to be done. And through you noticing that, through us realizing that there's sensations of awkwardness, like, oh my God, like, well, I feel whatever when I'm doing this gentle touch to my body. What does that feel like? So now what came up for me was our guys saying, okay, what if like that seems super feminine? Well, it's just about appreciation of love for yourself. Like the gentleness it exists both in masculine and it's masculine and feminine energy together within each and every one of our souls. So when do you tap into it? How often do you tap into it, right? And do you feel comfortable in yourself to give you that self-love for yourself? So that is the experience that I want to share with you in regard to how to balance the divine and the masculine and feminine. Okay, so next is gentle in the way that I move. So in the way that you move, in regards to physical movement, we're talking about physical movement. So from the moment you wake up, to you brushing your teeth, to you flossing your teeth, to you combing your hair in transit, what did it feel like for you to go through all those experiences and now have this? Was it rough or was it gentle? And you'll see yourself being where you can allow more love for yourself in that space. So maybe you were just like moving through the experience of waking up, and you were in a rush and you were like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for breakfast. How would your body feel if you're not providing its nutrients? Aside from the fact if you're being a ketogenic and you're fasting, like that's all. Please take that into consideration in your own self. I'm just talking about if you have that energy of not feeding yourself because you don't have time. Does that experience feel rough to you? Like in treating your body well, does it feel gentle? Right? Because what would your gentle self do for you in that moment? What would that gentle self do? It would most likely provide some sort of nutrients in that moment if you feel, if you were to apply that energy. So as you move throughout the day, tomorrow and the rest of your day, I'm going to encourage you, please write this down if you do have your journal prompts in your hand, of how you move throughout your day. Where are you being rough? Where do you need to be more gentle? Where do you need to be more rough? Right? Because sometimes, when we feel quote unquote lazy, where's that energy coming from? Are we being this or that? And of course, there are a whole range of different emotions and feelings that we experience, but I'm specifically talking right now to the measure of gentleness and roughness. So I realized I was being rough when I was walking on my way to certain events. And I was walking in a way where I always felt late, even when I'm on time. And I was like, why am I being so rough with myself when I'm like getting from one place to another? Why am I being in that experience of like just negative comments being said? And it was so interesting because, sorry about that, I didn't realize how I was talking to myself, and it went back to how I thought of myself, and it went back to my thought process, which is the first prompt that we had. Am I being rough and gentle in my experiences, in my thoughts, right? And the way that you describe yourself from this perspective of rough and gentleness is going to show you where you will need to put more love into your day-to-day experiences, and how to not limit your vibration to what other people feel like, or to what you should feel like, or more into the experience of how do you want to get to feel right now. Yes. Gentleness is a very interesting experience that I've encountered. It's a lot of fun to talk about it. I feel like there's a lot of stigmas that I'm also addressing about, it being very womanly, or it being really girly, and it's like breaking down that stigma. Like, no, fam, like we all need gentleness, okay? And how can we incorporate that? So, gentleness, since we're talking about movement. Wow, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing that. So we have Gina here saying, observed the same in my walk today and changed it immediately to one that felt more authentic. Wow, that is beautiful. See, so this is so perfect that you noticed that today and you're here, right? Because that's what this is about where we can open up different experiences, because there's these micro experiences of feeling less than, we're holding more focus on like, oh, there's this little blip here that like is not really going along with the rest of my vibration of what I choose to be. So let's look at it. Let's zone in and like hug it, give it some love, and tend to yourself. Like we're plants. Like that's so true. Like Amelia, shout out to Amelia Ortiz. I think that's her last name. Ethereal one. She says that like we're plants. And the first time she ever said that, I totally knew. It clicked in. And it's like this beautiful, like, I'm a plant. And I saw this on a meme too. Like, I need sun, I need air, I need all these breath. I need like photosynthesis. Like that shit happens in me too, in my own human form. And so I'm really happy that we're beings are connecting with this and like knowing the experience and how it's presenting in your life. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so now we're gonna go into gentleness about dancing. So we started with we started into movement. Now we're moving into dancing. What is the experience of gentleness when you're dancing? So I know my favorite is like salsa and a lot of Latin and Central American music. Definitely taught me that ease of sensuality and gentleness. So I'm really grateful for that. And it really showed me when I was being more gentle in my dance of love. So it came back to my thoughts. So what I've been doing a lot these days is dancing with gentleness, and that's going to be the prompt for this theme. So being gentle when you're dancing. It's so beautiful to incorporate the experience of your heart and what energy you're exuding. Like I can dance really I could dance blessings. Bernice, what's up? I could dance really, really like break dancey and still feel a sense of gentleness. I can do martial arts and still feel a sense of gentleness. So what I started doing was doing more Tai Chi. Tai Chi has such a beautiful flow to it. It's so gentle yet so powerful. And that experience on its own allowed me to be so sensitive to my micro movements. So if there's any blips that I was not noticing in my subconscious, it made me be more aware of the vastness that I am, how much my brain can think and expand, that I'm having this experience and there's so much else going on in the background. And the background experiences is what's curating this. Give me 1 second. I'm going to drink some water. Oh, okay. I'm going to give me 1 moment. I'm going to charge this. Okay. All right. Just making sure my shit, was charged. Yes. So essentially, that's what I want to do. So when you're dancing, the next time you're ever dancing, please feel free to explore your body and know when you are being really gentle with yourself. In that way, number for gentleness. Figure 8 movements with hips, touching my neck areas, closed eyes. Wow, those are beautiful. I love that because I've been doing gentleness is looking at myself in the mirror and dancing for me. Dancing really sensual for me and not feeling embarrassed and not feeling like really being in that space of vulnerability and opening my power and tapping into my sexuality. And that is where Anoushka feels her work needs to be right now. And this doesn't mean that your work needs to essentially be in the same way, but I'm holding these prompts for you. Peace. I'm holding these prompts for you to see, okay, when you're doing your movement, where are you being gentle? Yeah. And another one would be I realized when I would dance, a lot of the energy would go so much more outward about how other people were seeing me versus how it felt in my soul to dance. And I do already have a good sense of rhythm. I just generally do. So it was always like, I know I can dance good. So I wanted to, for my own up leveling of myself, for more self-love, turn that energy inwards. I'm like, okay, how can I feel sexy as I'm dancing in this mirror just for me, and like owning my divineness, owning that, and looking myself in the eyes. That was huge. So as I'm dancing, look myself in the eye, I'm like owning that energy and that power. And as I did that, because as you know, wherever you focus grows, that energy, I started embodying it more because I was allowing space for it to be present. Okay. So I love it. So we talked about the way that you touch, the way that you physically touch yourself, and being gentle about that. We talked about the gentleness in our thoughts. We talked about the way, being gentle in the way that you describe yourself. We talked about, I want to talk a little bit more about that. So being gentle in the way that you describe yourself. I'm working on something right now that involves more about this, so stay tuned. There is something that I'm cooking up with this topic specifically, being gentle with our thoughts, and but I am gonna gently brush over it. I love that. So essentially, when you're having your dialogue, verbal dialogues with your community, I want you to take notes on when you're being gentle with your dialogue about yourself. Because sometimes we can be our, you know how people say, like, we can be our worst critic or our worst or best critic. It's so interesting how both those words can be interchanged in that sentence. And and I think at that moment, you're able to really see how much of a level, not even like this, how much of a level you see yourself in. So I was having a conversation with one of my girls, and I was like, don't like hold yourself to that regard, like big yourself up, because if you aren't your biggest like cheerleader, forget other people. What then? How are you going to bring forth that? And I obviously holding space for people who see other people's light before they see their own light. Oof, that's some real shit. So this prompt for this topic is going to be like, just be more vigilant on how you're describing yourself and where you can find more gentleness in the way that you describe you. We talked about dancing, and we talked about rough versus gentleness. Okay, next we're going to be doing sex. So I feel like the experience of having rough sex was like the cool thing at one point, and there was like an overly, it was overemphasized in my reality. And just recently I realized there were certain ways I just want to be touched more gently, because again, I'm exploring this. And so my body was like, and I'm a crab. My star sign is Cancer, and so I'm very gushy in and of itself, with this beautiful hard balance of my shell. And I started almost feeling bad for asking to be like be held gentler, and even if it was like intimacy, specifically in that. And I was like, whoa, that's interesting. This is coming up. Why do I feel bad that I feel I want to be taken care of a little bit more gently? Because there was an experience of like, oh, this person wants this experience to be this way, and I want it to be separate, so that I'm wrong. And that's not necessarily true, right? So that was really interesting to experience, because I was able to tap into my throat chakra and see why that was limiting. And then once I opened that, I was like, it's it's not a bad thing at all. And so I eradicated the belief that me being gentle with the way I wanted to experience intimacy was wrong, because I had this belief for so long that like rough intimacy is normal to have. Yes. And I realized different parts of my body, sensation wise, wanted to be touched a little bit more sensitively. And then more memories were showing up. And knowing that like different parts of our body has different sense perceptors, which is so beautiful. Like think of the top of our head. Think of like the back of our necks. Think of our hearts. And so going back to what we were saying when you were like putting lotion on your body and sensitive and gentle touch, like when again, and then connecting it to this topic about being intimate, how does that like, see how those two mirror each other in relationships, right? When you are there, when you are being like sensually experiencing your body, there's more memories in a certain part of your limbs, and there's more sensitivity in a certain part of your limbs. So in the back of your knee, right, that's like a sensitive area, and so that might need a little bit more touch. But again, it's subjective in this point, so you'd have to like really just take a tour on your own experience of what that looks like, or even with your partner if that's something that you do. Contact improv, which is contact improv, like just like a slow sensual experience, but not really touching anyone, but it's just like a super awesome experience. I want to do more of contact improv. It's really like heart opening. It's very heart opening. Yeah. I love it. It's like 443, and like fours are my numbers at the moment, and now it's like 444 p.m. and we're on that fucking vibration. I think that's all I have for today. Let me see if there's anything else that I want to tap into. So I'm just going to take a moment, asking the beautiful ancestors, tapping into the void, tapping into Cerebro, tapping into the Earth's consciousness, tapping into masters, the teachers, loved ones from this Dravidian God body of mine, and lifetimes before and to come. Okay, so what I got was, hey Bing, blessing. So what I got was being gentle with this relationship through your third eye and your ancestors. Having that gentleness when we are talking about our relationship with our ancestors. What does that look like when we describe our relationship with our ancestors? What does that? Where is the roughness in our dialogue, and where is the time to massage that relationship? So that's what that topic that they wanted me to bring up. Another was taking time, and taking, not even time, we're talking about gentleness. The theme today is gentleness. So taking a space of gentleness for yourself to when you're executing and exercising your intuition, right? And sometimes you gotta make those quick on the spot snap movements and still be gentle. Okay, that's why I love Tai Chi, because Tai Chi is so freaking powerful, and at the same time, you have to, it's like this dance, right? And so what I got was taking your time to open, when you're opening up your further psychic abilities, of knowing that keep going and keep having your practice, where eventually it does become stronger and stronger. So, for example, my favorite example I like to give is Matilda, okay? Matilda, she like every day would just like point at shit and like sharpen her mind by like reading all these different books, and took that time, and like she was like, she didn't say, oh, why is my psychic ability not strengthening? It is. It's just taking your pace and knowing that it's a thing. Because when you over worry, you actually block. So when you over worry, you're blocking the chi from actually flowing in our systems, oxygen through our brain, and so that's what Hakuna Matata is referring to. Well, that is it. Thank you so much for jumping on my Akashic Saturdays, which is actually Sunday now. We had a really busy Saturday, so wanted to do it. Definitely had to come on because, I'm about that dedicated, consistent life. For anyone who watches this and is interested in an Akashic healing session, I am doing 50% off my sessions. So you do get it at $50. My sessions are $100 for an hour and a half, online and in person. So if that is interested, if they are interested in that, email me. My email is on both, on my Facebook and my Instagram, and text me. Email me the word. This is the code word. Are you ready? Rise up. Okay. So if this interests you, definitely reach out to me. I'm so honored and excited just to be present in the world right now, man. Like, I'm so excited to be part of all of your consciousnesses, of all your just magic. And thank you. Peace and blessings. And this video is going to be on YouTube as well. So if you want to catch the replay, it will be up on here for 24 hours. Or if you want to catch it fully again and get all the prompts that I got from before, definitely jump on my YouTube, subscribe. I would love if you just comment. Love you all. If you just comment, let me know what your thoughts, and it's out there for all of you. So it's Conscious Productions, CONXCIOUS. I'll type it out, and then y'all can go check it. It's actually, the link is in my bio. Oh my gosh, the link is in my Instagram bio. So just jump on there, right? Peace. See ya. Take care.